There's been a lot of talk lately about food shortages. You see it online, you see it on the news, and of course it's all over YouTube. Some of it could be a real concern, but honestly, a lot of it feels like people are just trying to get clicks and views. Every single time you turn around, there's another prepper channel saying that the stores are empty, the shelves are bare, and the country is running out of food. But here's the thing. When you actually go shopping and you look around, what you see doesn't really match up with what you're hearing online. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at what's really going on, where these food shortage claims are actually coming from, what the data actually shows, and whether or not we should be worried at all. I've spent a good amount of time digging through agricultural data, shipping reports, and market numbers, all of the stuff that most of these other channels skip over. And I have a great insider to the grocery store world. If there was going to be some kind of a shortage, I would know about it before any of you. You guys probably don't know this, but my wife, not only is she beautiful and amazing, but she is also the manager at a major grocery store chain. Now, I'm sure you've all seen the AI content farms out there cranking out hundreds of these videos every single week, and it really pisses me off because they're flooding the algorithm with false data. And that's one of the reasons that you don't always see new videos coming from the creators that you actually follow. Then you've got other YouTube channels just repeating whatever's trending without ever checking to see if what they're saying is true. That's not what we do here on The Prepared Citizen. If you want real content, real facts, and a real person actually talking to you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. All right, that's the end of that rant. Let's get into this video. My name's Will, and to me, preparedness isn't only about surviving the end of the world, it's about who we are and what we're made of. I prepare to live, and I live to prepare. I am a prepared citizen. Everywhere you look online, someone is saying that America is running out of food. The shelves are empty and the farmers can't produce anything and everything's going to hell. So we need to look at actually what's happening, not what these other people think is happening. Right now, the data shows us that the U.S. agriculture is extremely solid. The latest USDA reports put corn production for 2025 at roughly 14.8 billion bushels. I mean, yes, that's down a little tiny bit from last year, but it's still one of the biggest harvests on record. Now, soybeans, on the other hand, came in at around 4.1 billion bushels, which really didn't change much from 2024. Wheat production is actually up 8%, mostly because the yields for wheat were much better in the Midwest and in some of those northern plains. Now, livestock, on the other hand, well, it's in amazing shape as well. The cattle herd is a little bit smaller this year, about 2% lower than last, but the processing plants are running, meat output is steady, poultry production is up a little bit, milk is stable. Overall, food processing hasn't slowed down at all. The food is still being produced, it's being transported and sold every single day. But again, for some reason, everyone out there is yelling that we are in some kind of collapse. Now, when you go shopping, do you see a few gaps on the shelf? Of course you do. But that doesn't mean that there's some kind of nationwide food shortage. It could be a trucking delay or a local crop issue. And when you take a step back and look at the scale of our food industry, there's thousands of processing plants, millions of acres of farmland. I mean, so it has to be clear to us that the U.S. agriculture system is not failing. Is it under a little bit of pressure? Yes. And for you and I to have a conversation about it, we really need to take a look at the problems that we're currently facing. I truly believe that the thing that's hurting people, I mean you and I the most, it's not these empty shelves, it's the price tag of the items on those shelves. Don't believe me? Just walk into any grocery store. Trust me, you do not need my channel or any other prepper channel to tell you that the prices are high. I mean, a gallon of milk, a dozen of eggs, a package of chicken, they all cost more than they did a year ago. But here's the bigger picture. Since 2020, food prices are up more than 23%. Prices actually hit their peak around 2020 when grocery costs literally jumped more than 11% in a single year. Wonder whose fault that was.
Let me start off with two words. Made in America.
That was the fastest increase in food since the late 70s. Now, the U.S. is expecting another 2 to 3% increase for 2025, but this isn't because we're running out of food. It's because everything, and I need you guys to listen to me, you really need to listen to me, everything that touches food costs more. Labor, ladies and gentlemen, is the Biggest problem right now. Paying someone over $30 an hour just to package your precious tomatoes means that your tomatoes are going to cost more. Let's not even talk about the cost of fuel, which has gone down a little bit lately, and that's nice, but the freight costs, my God, the freight costs are out of control. I'm a business owner. Trust me, I know. When you go to the grocery store to buy beef, that beef is 13% higher in cost than last year, and this is the highest amount of money we've ever seen for beef. Eggs and poultry had a huge spike quite a few years ago, well, a year ago, during that avian flu outbreak. Do you guys remember that, when all of these major chicken processing plants mysteriously caught fire? Yeah, remember that? It was mysterious. Nobody knows why they caught fire. Yeah. Wheat and grain costs are continuing to climb, but again, let's just reiterate, it's not because of shortages, it's because of transportation and fuel costs. I don't want you guys to be afraid all the time, so please just remember that food is still being produced, it's still being grown and harvested and processed and stocked on the shelves of every single grocery store everywhere. It's not a lack of supply. I don't know why everybody seems to fall for these clickbait videos. And we're all in the same boat. We all feel it the exact same way. When those food costs rise faster than the paychecks that we have coming in, we need to start thinking long term. That's why we're prepared citizens. We need to actually take a long, hard look at what we eat, what keeps us healthy, and what makes sense to buy in bulk. You don't need to fill your basement with a year's supply of prepper food. Buy things that are going to give you options, and buy things that you're going to eat. It's most important. You have to buy things that we're going to eat. I had to let the dogs in the house. Look, we already talked about what's driving up the food prices here in the United States of America, but the thing that I think about, it doesn't keep me up at night, but I take a look at it once in a while, is the food that doesn't come from the United States, our imports, the food that comes to us beyond our sacred borders here of the United States. The majority of what we eat is produced right here at home, but there's a very large chunk of our diet that depends heavily on imports. And where we start to see small issues turn into big problems is those other countries. Coffee, cocoa, bananas, avocados, these are not grown here in the United States. We don't have the climate to grow those things year round. And a lot of times, it's just cheaper to import them in from somewhere else. So when a drought hits South America or shipping starts to slow, like going through the Panama Canal, the delays show up here in our grocery stores. Roughly 15 to 20% of our food supply comes from other countries, mostly in the form of fresh fruits, vegetables, seafood, booze. When we get massive weather events, hurricanes and whatnot, labor strikes, which happen in a lot of these smaller countries, and of course the rise in fuel costs, the prices here at home climb. You've probably noticed this at your local grocery store. One week, coffee will seem to be 25% more than it was last week, but then the following week, it's back down. Avocados, for instance, and who the hell eats avocados? I cannot stand avocados. The prices of avocados literally doubled in January, but by March, April, they were back down to normal. Now, despite your political beliefs, tariffs do play a small part in the rise of these food costs. But I personally don't expect to even notice these tariffs by the end of 2025. And of course, we have to deal with some of those freak shipping accidents. I'm sure you have seen the clips on Instagram of the iPhones floating in the sea because some container ship lost, 6 or 8 containers off the side and went into the drink. Like I said, the thing that bugs me is, unfortunately, we have no control over where we get our food from overseas. But what we can control, well, that's right here at home. I'd like to sit down and talk as friends for a moment about what I believe is going to cause our actual food crisis, what's going to cause a lack of food getting to our grocery stores and hence into our homes. We have to talk about how our food gets to us here in the United States and where those real issues are going to happen. Think about it. Even if the farmers are producing and all of the warehouses are full, like right to the brim, to the ceiling, everything still has to make it from point A to point B, We're talking about a huge infrastructure here. Processors, distributors, truck drivers, all of these things that need to run, function, and be on time every single day. 70% of all food in the United States moves via truck. And most of those trucking routes run along a few major highways like I-10, I-40, and I believe I-80. Those highways carry everything from our precious Amazon packages all the way down to the stuff that we need to, stock our shelves inside our home. We've seen it before. We've seen it during COVID. Do you guys remember? Just real quick, do you guys remember when they said that you couldn't touch these packages because you could get the coronavirus from touching the package? Jesus Christ, our government. But if a wildfire were to happen, a major snowstorm down in Florida, hurricanes, those shipments are going to get delayed, and the grocery store to you and I is going to appear that it's running out of food. And of course, we have to talk about the ports. 20% of all of our imported food comes via Los Angeles, Long Beach, New York, and New Jersey. If these ports of entry slow down because of strikes or it's just always a strike that screws up all of our deliveries, that affects the trucking companies. And you see where I'm going with this? It's trickle down problems. This is what most people don't get, not only about economics, but also about how our food comes to us. Everything's trickle down. Gas prices equal this, equal that. Labor shortages equal this, equal that. It's just a big, massive infrastructure that one little tiny thing breaks and we're screwed. The coastal cities always feel this first, and then it trickles inland over probably the next week or two. So the more that you understand about how our supply chain works, how our food is delivered to us, the better you're going to be at deciding if there is a problem, what's worth stocking up on, things that you literally cannot live without. So as prepared citizens, what is it that we can do about any of this? Most people think that food preparedness means having tons of pallets of beans, peas, and MREs in your basement. And ladies and gentlemen, that's just silly talk. The average household in the United States throws away about 30% of the food that they buy every single month. I cannot even fathom how wasteful that is. We're wasting food and we're wasting money that could have gone into a long-term type of food supply. We really need to be keeping our eyes on the USDA wholesale reports. These are public, they're updated every single week, and they show our regional food trends. So if you start to see some prices going down or spiking in your area, that could be a sign that maybe you need to think about your tactics and if you're going to go buy food or if you're going to hold off. Now, we talked about how grocery stores depend on the shipping companies and the farmers and the big massive warehouses and stuff like that. But here's the thing. The little guy doesn't. The small farmer, the farmer's market. We've got a farm up the street here. We've got another one down the street here. Local butchers. These are fantastic places to spend your money. When you get to know all of these local distributors, not only will you be able to see where your food comes from, but you're going to be supporting your community. That's very important to me, supporting my community. When there's some kind of nationwide hiccup or the stores are running out of food, these local places are probably never going to run out. And if they do, they're going to be able to recover much faster. But here's the thing. We are prepared people. We're not just going to sit around and wait for all of these bad things to happen. We're going to take matters into our own hands. You all should be learning how to fish, how to hunt, how to start a garden. And yes, gardening is also a great way to know where your food comes from. Go buy yourself a food dehydrator or one of those kits where you can actually freeze dry your own food. You need to educate yourself on how to become self-reliant. But I am going to be honest with you guys. Hunting may not be cheaper than actually going and buying food from the grocery store. I probably spent about $5,000 just getting into hunting. Not to mention the days and weeks that I've spent tethered to a tree waiting for an animal to walk in front of me. And yes, the hunting videos start on Sunday. Gardening is also ridiculously expensive. My wife and I do not do a big garden here at the house, but I know a lot of you do. So maybe you could help me and the other viewers out down in the comments and tell us how much it actually costs you to start a large-scale garden, and how much money do you think that that saves you? The internet is a cruel and wonderful place, and YouTube is a fantastic platform to learn information on. But I feel like I need to remind you, YouTube is not a search engine. Facebook and Instagram is not a search engine. Make sure you're looking up real, actual facts and look at factual trends. Watch those fuel prices. Research the drought seasons. Look at seasonal harvest data. All of these things will let you know if we're facing some kind of a crisis. Now, what did you guys think about this video? Please let me know down in the comments. Let me know what your fears are when it comes to food supply. What do you think is actually going to happen in the future? And let us all know your tips for making sure that you always have a good supply of food to get you through any type of situation you may be going through. Subscribe to the channel and make sure that you check out my Patreon. We are now doing a live stream on Monday every single week for Patreon members, and those details are down below in the description. Remember, the best time to prepare was yesterday. The second best time is today. My name's Will. I'm the Prepared Citizen. That's all I got for you.